Welcome back to another episode of Steaming Pile and Tucker. I am Lauren.
And I'm Tucker.
What makes you just feel so incompetent?
Oh, most things really.
Okay.
Generally, whenever I say or do something that makes me feel incompetent. What about you?
Yeah. When I, who have been cooking for myself for 4 years, nearly sliced the tip of my finger off using a chef's knife.
Well, I mean, incompetence or slippery knife?
You know, slippery knife is something I hadn't considered. I had considered, texture and shape of the carrot in question, posture. I hadn't considered that the knife itself might have been slippery.
Also, carrots are hard to cut. Those things are hard. They are roots. They are roots. Do not beat yourself up over a little.
And it was long ways too. Like I think if you cut them, into coin shapes, that's much easier because you can hold the whole stalk of the carrot. But yeah, cutting it into planks, I was like, it was worth it. Dinner tonight was great. But there's definitely I grated part of my thumb off too. So it's been a back-to-back kitchen hazard. Kitchen nightmare, one might say.
That, you grated part of your thumb off?
Yes.
On a cheese grater?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see the argument for incompetence there. Yeah. No, I can. No, I'm
well,
kidding.
I was grating an onion, and those are slippery.
They are slippery, yeah. Onions are slippery.
But the fact it was on the first stroke, I was like...
Extra protein.
Yeah.
My mom took the tip of her thumb off on a mandolin making coleslaw.
Ooh, mandolins are dangerous.
Mandolins are scary. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah.
I mean, who came up with the mandolin? And why?
The Japanese?
That sounds like it could be correct.
There's a style of mandolin that I know is Japanese specific. Your mom may or not have been using that one, but
they are a fan of sharp blades. So yeah, that's that is entirely plausible. But kitchens are really dangerous places.
They are. They are.
Think about it. Yeah. Yikes.
And with a lack of home economics classes, I feel like people just don't know things. And if it never comes up, it opens the door for people to be stupid. For example, I didn't know until I was 22 that airborne flour is dangerous and can catch fire.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
But I even took a home economics class in middle school, and they never say anything like that. That's just... Yeah. I had to learn that on Mythbusters. They did that with coffee creamer. It turns out anything dusty like that, if it's a little flammable, it becomes a lot flammable.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Flour, creamer, is cornstarch flammable? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Don't try it. Don't light it on fire.
Don't try it. Let's find out. Next Tucker's test kitchen.
Yeah.
Is cornstarch flammable?
Will I keep my eyebrows? Probably not. But the that whole, I guess, gap in education granted, I guess it's hard to determine if that's something they should teach at school or not. Right? There's always this line where you're like, should they teach that at school, or are you expected to learn that at home?
Which, is fair, because both of my parents cooked, and I had been helping my parents cook since I was, still single digits, burgeoning on 2 digits. But certain things just don't come up because your parents have already learned those things, and it's just second nature to them. They know not to toss flour in the air, so... Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's I guess it's for lack of a better word, tribal knowledge like that you don't even know to pass down, right? Yeah. It doesn't occur to you that flour is dangerous, so you don't say that flour is dangerous. Because
it just seems so innocuous.
It really does. The popular example, I guess as of late, is they don't teach you how to write a check in school. They don't teach you how to do your taxes in school. But it sometimes feels like we're missing the bigger question. Should you learn that in school, or should you learn that elsewhere? Yeah. You probably shouldn't learn that from the internet, but where else is there? You have to learn it at home if you can. But then what, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I have friends who are teachers, and I've never thought to ask them, like, how do you feel about people constantly being like, oh, they should have taught this in school? And I've always taken the position of, like, even if they did teach it in school, that's just one more things for kids not to pay attention to or use.
Yeah.
And I think I would also have a hard time looking a teacher in the face with what they're currently responsible for and say, oh, by the way, can you, like, teach kids about taxes?
Yeah. It's an interesting, I guess, philosophical question. What is like, I don't even know how to phrase it. What is the, as it exists today, what is the education system responsible for teaching children? Because the education system, and this is I'm front row witnessing it happening. What appears to be burning a lot of teachers out is the fact that they are, kids are needy little bitches, right? But if they don't, right, teachers are supposed to teach, right? They're not supposed to parent.
Correct.
And there is an increasing reliance, I think, on education systems and the teachers therein to parent these children. And if you have to do that, there is no room left for education. Right?
Correct.
And
Sorry, someone screamed outside.
Someone screamed?
Yeah. Like, not, this will sound bad, but like not urgently.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded more like excitement.
Okay.
But just jarring enough, because this is a very quiet apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. What are you doing?
You good?
Yeah, no, it's great. I had to close the door because my husband is also on a call at this time.
Screaming?
And no, not yet.
Okay.
That could happen. It has before, but not tonight.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know where the breakdown is.
What do you mean the breakdown?
Like, which parents are dropping the ball? And if there are, like, clear indicators, or if it's the fact that there aren't parents there, I don't know.
It does seem like underserved communities are traditionally the ones impacted by this the most, possibly because there's a lot of reasons. I'm not even going to pretend to know the answer here, but I mean, if you don't have the backbone of at the very least a semi-stable house,
mm-hmm.
you need to get that from somewhere,
yeah.
or you need to be taught how to be a person before you can be taught math, right?
Oh, yeah.
And usually that happens at home, and when it doesn't, that's when the problem happens, and that's why teachers are getting burnt out. One of many reasons, but that's a big one.
Yeah. I've heard, we have a family friend who teaches, I think, second grade. And just like the 3 years that kids were completely indoors and shut off from all human contact, like, she's basically teaching kindergartners.
Yeah.
Because they just have no social skills at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm starting to realize that I also have no social skills. When I think about myself in, like, 2019 and I think about myself today, I feel more annoying. Because, like, in 2019, I was around people all the time. I was a senior in college. And even now, like, there are a handful of people we see on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
But there is just kind of a vague erosion of, like, social skills.
Okay. I can see the argument for that, whether it's real or self-perceived. I can see why you would think that you're just not good at that anymore. You're out of practice. I definitely feel that sometimes too. Remember during the pandemic when the parents of all of these needy little bitches stayed home and they're like, oh, we'll never take teachers for granted again. Oh, and then they went right back to using them as free daycare.
Yeah.
It's like how quickly we forget. How quickly we forget. But you're right. They're very. They missed a couple of years of humanity, right?
Yes.
Like that's unfortunate. And I hear people say, oh, and the kids going through school are only going to get worse. I don't know that it's going to get like worse permanently. It certainly on a downward trend, but I think it might bounce back a little bit once you flush these kids out. And parents that want to be want to be parents at the same time as sending their kids off to school, not as a daycare, right? Once you get that pipeline back full, and flush the pandemic people out. That's and like you could understand the people who are saying, oh, we need to send our kids back to school even though it was dangerous. Like, don't, but I get why you're saying that. It's, you're gonna end up with a couple dead kids, but I get the reasoning, right? Don't, but also I see.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing to like to of course love people, but to live on top of them constantly with just the added stress of like, well, continue to do like stuff as normal, but don't leave your house, is like, I could understand wanting to foist them off on someone else. Yeah.
And it's probably, there's also an additional desire of, you want things to go back to normal in a way.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I think at this point people don't actually want that all that much. People are protesting all the return to office stuff that's going on. Yeah. They're like, oh, we don't want to do that. We're perfectly capable of, doing things while we're at home. And, I can also get laundry done. That's pretty cool.
That's,
the commute is senseless sometimes. Like that was the first noticeable improvement of like my work life. It was, I didn't have to commute. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. Or have your current company tried to enforce return to office or not?
Not really. So the company I work for now used to be a part of Comcast. I wasn't there when they were part of Comcast, and Comcast is doing it. But my company is based out of Denver and Kansas City, so they can't make me.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't think they're ever going to, but they can't make me.
Yup, mine's based out of Atlanta. If they require return to office, I will not be returning to that office.
Can't be done. I live here. Taxes are here. I can't. I'm sorry.
Whoops.
But I think they I think the companies that haven't been mandating it in massive droves yet probably are a little more chill about it.
Yeah, and it's every time I think about the fact that like people would go to an office and have to have like a whole wardrobe for going to an office is insane to me. Like I wore a Sad Shinji shirt today and I couldn't wear that in a professional setting. Right. And so it's the fact that there was like that would be the thing. My dad worked 4 minutes from the house. And maybe he had to be at the office. I understand that there are jobs that like do have to be in an office and stuff, and it's very elitist to like complain about like the work from home stuff. Yeah. But I also think it's weird to insist people come to an office if they don't have to.
Right. So long as you're getting your work done, does it really matter where it takes place? The counterexample to that, I suppose, is any kind of collaboration instantly degrades over the internet, even in video calls. I loathe Zoom and doing that whole thing. But I mean, at least coming from the perspective of a software engineer, pair programming is markedly less easy, or not easy, but I guess less. Yeah, it's different. And not in a good way, only in a slightly bad way. But it's, I don't know. That's probably the collaborative aspect that I miss about it.
So is pair programming, and I'm only asking because I'm not into programming, is that where you're like sitting directly across from the person you're programming with, and you're doing it simultaneously.
You're doing it simultaneously. You're usually next to each other, and you're working on the same thing, and you're talking about it. It's usually used as a tool to not only produce better code because you got two pairs of eyes on it, but it's also usually used as a tool to train a more junior developer.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's easier when it's done in real time. Because reading documentation, even if it's good documentation, just doesn't seep through the way actually doing does. So
no.
But yeah, so that, as I'm sure you can imagine, just instantly degrades over Zoom. And having done it for the past like almost 4 months now, you get used to it. And having done it almost exclusively for the past 3 years now, you get used to it. Just the collaboration in general, but you lose just that ability to turn around and say hello, right?
Yeah, and that's what's worked out about having my husband also work from home, is we can basically be across the hall from each other, and anytime we need a break, we'll just get up and walk to the other person. And thankfully we move in similar enough circles that the Venn diagram of what we understand is a pretty wide margin. But yeah, that is like the one aspect that I miss. But I also didn't get it a whole lot when I went in person because I was at least 10 years younger than everyone else in the office. So everyone was like buying houses, settling down, and I'm like, I just graduated. I have no idea how to be an adult.
Yes. Yeah. It's hard to, if everyone around you is like 10 years older than you are, then it's got to be hard to socialize and fit in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's, I don't know, that's, it's, I guess as a sum of, as a sum of how the workforce has changed, probably okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, on a case by case personal basis, you'll have these drawbacks, but on the whole, being able to do work from anywhere is not only personally liberating but professionally engaging.
Yes. Yeah. It makes the culture at a company matter more because there are other options. Potentially. I've also seen a lot of people like look for more work and there's just nothing. They get straight ghosted by the companies who are like, oh, we need these positions filled immediately, and then they just don't follow up. So I don't know what companies are after. I don't know what companies watch.
Case by case
just
basis.
finished Succession, and I know no more about business than I did before.
Well, I mean that's because it was Succession.
Yeah.
I don't think it was really about the business.
No.
I have not seen it, but I hear the last season of it was relatively disappointing.
Really? I liked it. But I was also just cackling during the finale because it was genuinely funny. Because it's also, I don't know, it doesn't strike me as a show that can have like a satisfying cathartic ending. And so I think the ending worked really well for me.
Okay. It's been on my list for a while to see, and the fact that it's only 4 seasons is pretty attractive.
Yes.
Yeah, because some TV shows. Did you know The Blacklist is still on?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh no!
It's in season 10 now, I think.
Oh my gosh! How do you write that much TV, as that much hour-long drama TV?
Well, from what I hear, it jumped the shark many seasons ago.
That's fair.
They did some. I spoiled it for myself. They did some real stupid stuff with their everything. It's. I don't know. I really liked it when it aired. I only saw maybe the first 2 or 3 seasons. I don't think I'll ever sit down and watch the entirety of it. I intended to at one point, but no.
Some shows you just gotta cut loose.
Yeah.
Let them drift off. And then you set that boat on fire. You don't look back.
with my backlog of shows, it's really the only
Yeah.
healthy and feasible option.
Yeah. What are you watching now?
What am I watching now? I'm currently between things. I think I've tried to pick up The Rehearsal. That's a Nathan Fielder show.
Yes.
And I've been trying to. Oh, what is it? I'm for the past forever. I'm still juggling The Sopranos. I'm still juggling Barry. I'm still in the last season of Atlanta. I'm still right. Like it's just.
That's so much.
It's interminable, right? Because I don't sit down and watch it anymore, and that's fine.
Oh yeah.
But like for these 30-minute long episodes, I should just do it, right? It's 30 minutes. That's the whole reason I like TV to begin with. It's little chunks that you don't necessarily have to binge. I was so relieved because I want to get back into Veep. They're only 30 minutes long. I thought they were hour-long shows.
Yep.
I'm so happy they're not.
I had that realization going into The Righteous Gemstones season 3 because when the first episode came up as 30 minutes, I was like, oh yeah, it's a half-hour comedy. Yeah.
Whew. Yeah. It's because hour-long shows, or even like what's the equivalent? 44-minute, 47-minute shows.
Yeah.
They're long.
They are.
They are long. I've also been trying to get into the habit of not needing to watch a movie in one sitting. Because at some point, like I have, and I have. But sometimes because I really want to watch movies. I love movies, but they're long and they're getting longer.
Yes.
And I have not the best memory, but I can remember where we left off, right? I can. Yeah. Just treat it like a TV show, kind of.
Yeah. Movies used to have intermissions, and I think they should bring those back.
Or you can just make your own.
Yes. And I have done that. I have paused movies halfway, and once you know it, especially on streaming, you just pick it back up again.
How about that?
Chapter select. What looks familiar? If it doesn't look familiar, you go back until it looks familiar.
How about that? Yeah.
I am bad that way about books. I will try my hardest to read a whole book in a single sitting, even if it's impractical, because I get spoiled when I go on like trains and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, 5 hours uninterrupted, Wi-Fi is shitty. I'm gonna read this 400-page book in an hour and a half. Let's go. And I will pack more books than I will pack clothes. And I'm like, because if I finish it, I gotta have something else.
Do you ever finish it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I read I think I read 3 books on my last train trip.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It's yeah. Because you got to bring your contingency books. If you finish one, if it's not as good as you were hoping it would be, I'm not going to suffer through it if I don't want it.
No, you gotta want it. Books are commitments.
Yes.
You know, they can be thick.
They take a long time.
Yeah, and you have to really, I guess, submerge yourself in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth it. But even 5 hours, crushing a book in 5 hours, that takes the train is the perfect excuse, but that still takes a huge commitment of time.
Yeah.
And now you're getting back to the problem with movies. It takes a huge commitment of time.
It's so much time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thankfully, the last movie I saw was Across the Spider-Verse, and that was pretty good.
Was it short?
No. I don't think so. Because we went to like a 7:30 showing, but we were out the door by like 10. But I mean, like by the time you cut out all of the like previews beforehand.
Yeah.
It's a big outing, but it didn't feel long.
Okay. That's good. That's good that it didn't feel.
Yeah.
It didn't feel long. I think that's the hallmark of a good movie, is that it can be long, but it just feels like it flows. It feels like you're just sitting there watching a movie and you come out of it 3 hours later and it's like, oh, that was only, or other way around. You come out of it 3 hours later and you think it was like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's like, oh,
yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. Because a good 100-minute movie, those are great.
Yes.
Those are great.
Hard to come by.
And I love the comparisons of like the old Disney animated movies and then like the remakes, and how the remakes always end up having like an extra 45 minutes of content without contributing anything more to the story. And it also reminds me, there's an SNL sketch called Short Ass Movie, and one of the lines in the video was talking about how like Jurassic Park, perfect movie, 90 minutes long. Sex and the City 2 is like 2.5 hours, and he's like, that's about people we already know, and it doesn't teach me about DNA sequencing.
That's, I mean, they saved that one for the third one. Who's the father?
Oh, of course.
It's yeah. No, I mean, it's you can do a lot in 100 minutes.
Oh yeah.
But I wonder why the prevailing trend is longer movies. Why?
Maybe to make it more of like an experience. Because like on the one hand, I can get it, because it's like, well, they're paying for tickets anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They've paid the same amount of money for 3 hours that they would pay for 2.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't cut the things that I want to cut. Cause
are you saying that it's a better value proposition at 3 hours of show as opposed to 2 hours of show?
Maybe.
Like dollars per hour of entertainment? Is that because that's...
It doesn't make sense. I don't know why that was my go-to.
I mean, I can see the argument for that from a... but has that desire ever existed to, like, I don't know, has the desire ever existed to, like, have people complained, oh, I paid such and such money and that movie was only 100 minutes? Like, have people said that? Are they trying to solve that problem? Is there a problem?
There's certainly not a problem. I have seen people complain when things are only like 45 minutes and they feel like they've paid for a TV episode. Yeah. But that's more with like renting on streaming platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And I don't know, maybe it's like movies avant-garde pushback against like the TikTokification of everything, because like songs are getting shorter.
Yes, well, yeah, I guess on average they are as well. I mean, the true pushback to TikTokification is just to keep your movies in landscape. Sorry, Tubi. What was the 10-minute one that failed hilariously? Not Tubi.
Quibi.
Yeah. Hold it horizontal.
Quick bites of entertainment.
Yeah.
That was a bad decision.
Yep.
I don't know how far up like a CEO's ass you have to be. Like, not even like the yes men who have to do all of the grunt work. I mean like board members.
Mm-hmm.
How are you as a board member so dumb as to be like, yeah, people want 10-minute long things, the worst length of things.
Was there ever any who made Quibi? Was it a company or was it a startup? Because that's very brave for a startup to dive into that.
It was an offshoot of a company, and I forget, but Swell Entertainment did like a whole like series and saga on Quibi. Like, she followed the rise, fall, and nonsense. But I think it was an offshoot of a company. Which one? But yeah, it was all the worst length. Like,
Yep.
I watch a ton of TikTok compilations. The best ones are either 8.5 minutes long or 15 minutes long.
Yeah, isn't
But-
that just better than installing TikTok?
It is. It is. I have found so many like good channels that curate TikToks. And once you find someone who has like your sense of humor, you're set for life
Yep.
because they do all of the harvesting for you. And there are even some channels that I'm like, you put a little too many like political talking ones in here, but I'm not going to begrudge you for that because you're doing the work for me.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I don't have to download the app. I don't have to curate this myself. Why would I?
Exactly.
Don't
It's just,
gotta.
it's just another app.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or do you hate how everyone and their mother has an app now?
It's pretty bad.
It's
But I also
yeah,
don't have a lot of apps on my phone.
good.
Who specifically has an app that irks you?
It's the apps that say there are some places around here that make you download the app to join their loyalty program.
Oh.
And it's like, why? You have a website. Can't I just do it there? Can't you
I
do
go on the mobile?
Yeah. Why do you need to be on my phone? So you can send me push notifications? And
Probably.
I think this is how it has evolved, right? You start back in the newspaper. It was column inches. Then you go to the radio, it was airtime, TV, commercial time. Now we're on our phones, it's storage real estate. How many apps, right? Why do I need to install an app to order from your store? Have a website. Websites work everywhere. I can use it on my computer.
Yeah.
And you can even do push notifications from websites. That's a thing you can do.
Yes. Yeah.
So why put in the extra development effort? And is it because you wanted a refined experience? I don't know.
That could be where they don't want you to have to go to like a website. It's like, oh, it's right here on maybe like it's trying to save clicks or something.
Well, both Google and Apple and their respective mobile operating systems tried to implement these like little app clip type things that weren't actually fully blown apps, but they were just a little above a mobile web page. It presented like an app, but it wasn't really an app because it was mostly a web page. It was basically backed by a web page with a couple extra features that could make it look more integrated with the cell phone. And that never took off. The only one I've ever seen in the wild and actually have used was Vimeo. And it was, I'll admit, a little irritating, but like that could be all of these things, right?
Yes.
All of these things don't need to be a full-blown application that takes up 70 megabytes on my phone. It can just be this tiny little thing.
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't know. It's like the constant drive to make money makes people make stupid and annoying decisions.
I mean, it's whatever will generate lift, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, and apps, when it forces me to download the app, that's when I get mad. Like when it won't just, like anytime I order something and they're like, oh, you can track your order with Shop. And I'm like, don't take me to the App Store. Just take me to the UPS shipping page. I don't want to download Shop to find out. I'll just be surprised.
There you go. Yeah. What was the example? Oh, Amazon. I was at Whole Foods, let's say a year ago, and you can scan a QR code, and that's basically, I'm a Prime member, give me my deals, right? Mm-hmm. You have to have the app to generate the QR code. You can't. You can do pretty much everything else on just the mobile version of their website. It's a very good mobile website they've made. Yeah. But you can't generate the QR code to scan. And I guess that's for a couple reasons. There is some encryption security behind it Don't ask me how I know. But there is some there is some asymmetric encryption in the QR code, and it's also what's used to get into Amazon Go stores. But I do not see it also constantly refreshes. It's like a Ticketmaster ticket. You can't take a screenshot of it. That's another app that I love to uninstall immediately after a show. But
Yep.
Because it's like I just add to wallet. I don't want your stupid app. Anyway,
is the app data different from mobile browser data?
In what way?
Like the only thing I can think of for having an app is like the data that you would get on your customers would be different / better than the data you would get from them using mobile browsers.
I guess web browsers are a little more sandboxed when it comes to that sort of thing. But I also hesitate to say that that's the reason, because Android's pretty good, and Apple, their whole shtick is sandboxing applications as well. And you could probably gather more data from being an app on a phone than being a page in a browser. In fact, that's definitely true. I don't know what kind of data would be like good data. Like, what do you want to know? What do you want to know that an application can provide? Do you want like a tracker running in the background? Well, that's
maybe access to phone and microphone.
That's still going to drain That's still going to drain battery, right? I don't.
True.
It's very noticeable when something is doing that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't really keep that a secret, right? If someone suspects that someone's doing funny business, that someone's going to be a security researcher, and they're going to tear your app apart and see what they're doing. Like, people have teared apart the smart assistants to see if the little physical switch on there actually disables the microphone, and it does.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I don't have one, but that's good to know.
Yeah, it's a rather simple circuit, but it's kind of difficult to trace. But they mapped it out, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this does what it says it does." I think the complication comes from, not only does it like actually block the signal from the microphone, it also has to tell the thing that the switch is enabled, so it can like say the words, "The microphone is off," and at least on the Google Home, the little lights on top turn red.
Yeah.
But anyway, but like and I don't understand, like, data from like constant monitoring of data. What can that gain you? If I talk about a product, or like, oh, I should look into pool noodles, I need to buy a pool noodle this weekend. That's the only thing I can think of that's worth anything. Like my location data.
Yeah.
My accelerometer data. I don't know. You want to know if I'm biking? That doesn't help you sell your pool noodles.
They want your nudes.
Of course.
They want to look through your camera.
Mm.
Be like, you know what you need.
So my phone is 5 years old, and even this one. Hello? Refocus. This camera is even older than 5 years old. Please refocus. My God. I'm just going to be blurry for a little bit, I guess. I don't know.
Discord heard us talking shit about apps, and they're like, you know what's an app? Discord.
What is going on here? Like, I am like an inch away, and my hand is in focus. And now if I pull back...
Focus. Okay, it's fixed.
What are you doing? For a while I had the autofocus turned off, but I don't know how to do that outside of OBS. Anyway, my phone is like 5 years old, and it's stuck on Android 11, and it always asks me every time it wants permission for something. It will never. It's not even an option up front to be like, yeah, you can access this data whenever you want, right? There's always while I'm using the app, only this once, or deny, right? You have to like go into the settings if something requires location all the time, which is creepy, right?
Yes, extremely.
I also don't understand why Bluetooth Low Energy requires the location permission. That doesn't track in my mind. I'm sure there's a good reason, but yeah, but I mean, and it's interesting the amount of transparency and the specific kind of transparency that companies will have with your data.
Yes.
Right? Like they'll say, well, we'll never sell your data. We're using it for marketing purposes. But that's really all they say.
And it's always like, we're not going to sell it. We're just using it for marketing purposes. And it's like, okay, how are you using it for marketing purposes? It's like, well, advertisers might buy your data, but that's we didn't sell it. We auctioned it off, and that's different from selling it.
Of course. Well, I feel like the vast lake of data is probably why people still advertise on Google, right? Not only do they have the placement, but they have the data to match things up. They don't have to sell your data. They just have to match ads with who you are. And
yes.
Oh, come on.
Although there was an article we just saw in the news today where Google sold a bunch of ads. The ads were not compliant with their ad policies, and they didn't meet their own advertising standards like 80% of the time.
Oh.
Yeah. Which to me is just like, yeah, the internet's too big for anyone to actually like monitor how these ads are performing.
Mm-hmm.
So either you're going to let that be part and parcel with advertising with Google, or people are going to stay mad about it. Because getting mad about it, that's easy. But like staying mad about it, that's honestly why I think it's impressive the writer's strike has continued for 8 weeks.
It's still going?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's plenty of TV. I don't need anything new right now.
Get
what you need.
Get what you need.
Yeah.
Because I was scrolling through the comments on one of it, and like there were tons of people who were like, "Fine, there's too much woke nonsense being shoved down my throat," and I'm like, first off, what's woke? Second off, define being shoved down your throat. Is it just that it's there that you could watch it?
That's
3. What's woke? What?
Yeah, what is because people's definition of woke really it's vast. It's a veritable pantheon of different kinds of definitions and ranges of what that could look like.
Like is it just hyper liberal politics or a black person on screen?
Could be either.
Please define, because they would just say it, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, sure, there's woke garbage out there, but there's also like good stuff being written, and what? But then there are also people who are like, yeah, just be mad that ChatGPT can do what you do, but better, and I'm like, it can't.
It can't.
It can't. Like,
it can't.
You still need other people to like give the inputs and turn it into like workable stuff.
Yeah.
And like it's impressive. It's super impressive what it can do, but it shouldn't replace writers' rooms. And I think obviously it's just people like stirring the pot, but it's like the stories won't get better. They will still stay at this level.
Yeah.
But they won't get better than that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who speculates that Rings of Power may have been written partially with AI.
Rings of Power is which one's that?
It's the Amazon Prime Lord of the Rings show. Because the showrunner was like someone who had never run anything before. I forget how many writers they had on it, but there was not a writer's room. Mm-hmm. And Tolkien's stuff is kind of prime material to like feed to in AI to train it, because there's so much of it.
True.
But yeah,
I don't know.
Unfounded, just speculation. But the fact that it just felt so weird, to this day I am baffled that people were like, you know what Lord of the Rings fans want? Awful corporate Lord of the Rings.
I haven't seen it outperform actual writing. Speaking not only of the argument of like, oh, it hasn't experienced anything, so it doesn't mean anything when it writes something, right? I'd say about 80% of the time I use it, I just say, okay, I'll just do it myself.
It's yeah.
Like it's it's
yeah.
right. Like it's good. It's a very good tool.
It's a sounding board.
It is a sounding board. You still need you still need people. It's and I think that I think that comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of how it works. It understands what you give it. It doesn't understand what it says back. Right.
Yeah.
And it's. I mean, they even tell you right on the thing. It has limited knowledge of things that happen after 2021, and it also hallucinates because it's trained on a lot of text, but it doesn't know how to derive facts out of that text. It will say anything and make it sound smart.
Yeah.
Right.
It can parrot, but it can't formulate exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. The and I found this too with image generation as well. Image generation is really cool.
Yeah.
But I find it. I don't know if it's a deficit with myself in prompting it, but I find that with with some things it does really good at. I was trying to figure out if I could use it to generate the thumbnail for the metal sous vide video I made, and it would not understand what a lake made of liquid mercury or liquid metal or reflective anything. It wouldn't do it. It made translucent, glistening things, but it wouldn't make reflective. And I've tried multiple of them, and I couldn't make it understand. And I feel like that's because it hasn't seen a lot of it, because that's a weird thing to ask for, right? Like it can synthesize what's the classic example that Stable Diffusion uses? It uses astronaut riding a horse. It can, of course you can synthesize that. It's very interesting how it does, like mathematically, but it only knows what you tell it. It can. Yeah. It looks like it knows everything, but it only knows a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't disagree with people who are like the people who will succeed are the ones who understand how to use it. I do think that'll probably be true.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think we're at wholesale replacement.
No. I don't think that is the people who intend to use it in that way are bad people, but also they're probably gonna get fucked.
Yeah.
It's gonna go well for a while, and then something bad's gonna happen where it causes some really big legal trouble for them. And then we'll start to go down this path of, well, who should be held responsible for it? This was generated by a computer. And I don't think they'll like the answer to that.
Well, yeah, because they'll want to take credit when it does well, but when it causes legal trouble, they'll be like, "Oh, it was just the computer; it wasn't me."
Yeah, and this is the same. This is the same problem that they talked about self-driving cars for. Also, can we just say it's insane that cars can't drive themselves, but we're trusting this thing with banking decisions? Anyway, let's teach it to drive first. Yeah. Maybe let's do that. Yeah. But if you present the car with the trolley problem, what's the correct answer, and who should be held responsible for that decision? Is it the owner of the car? Is it the designer of the software? Is it? I mean, it has to be someone, right? It has to be answerable to someone.
Yeah. It's honestly probably like either the senior head of algorithmic development or something who signed off on the algorithm that said prioritize the person in the car. I don't care who you run over outside. They will probably get sued. Owner of the company will probably get sued. And honestly, the owner of the car will probably get sued, but probably not held as responsibly. But to me, I'm like, you told a robot to drive.
Yeah.
Just do it. If you can, do it yourself.
I mean,
I wouldn't relax. It would stress me out so much more if a robot were doing the driving.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, but you see the problem here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I don't know how much like intervention power a self-driving car has. Like, I don't know how easy it is to just like slam on the brakes and say, no, I'm in control now, or if the car is going to pull like a HAL 9000 and say, no, I'm driving.
Well, I think the fear of that is generally overblown. The fact,
for sure,
right? Like
yeah.
there's a lot of clickbaity articles that say, oh, it's going to, extinct us. And it's like, well, okay, let's look at who's saying that. It's the people who are making it.
Yes.
Sounds a lot like the tobacco industry. This is bad for you. It's horrible for you. We're not allowed to advertise it to you anymore. You still want it? Right? Like, and what they're doing is like, this is bad. We want to help you regulate it. So that word good, and we can lock everyone else out.
Do you want our car?
Right?
Do you want our car to drive you somewhere?
Exactly. And but it's those clickbaity titles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just start titling them with like, assuage your guilt. Give over driving decisions to the car. It's not your fault. It's the car's.
But man, it has to be answerable to someone. And I think
if we put too much on the robot who is just like following programming, like even machine learning, I think that's where that's how the robot war would go, is we give robots too much intellectual capacity. No, we give them machine learning, we give them all the algorithms and equations they follow, and we assign sentience to that, and we assign like critical thinking to that. The robot's not going to be torn over anything, but we're going to think they are.
Right.
And so we're going to take like a sympathetic view of all of them, and then the Boston robot dog is going to kick in your door and tase you to death.
Oh, I don't know about that. That thing's cute. No, I think the dystopian, it's going to run everything, is it's going to kill everyone, let's say, is a little overblown.
Yeah. There are people who still have like push dial telephones hooked up to their landline. Those people aren't going to get killed by robots.
No.
Because you know what? There's 300 miles between the robot and the next charging station.
Yeah. The biggest problem likely is that the legal system isn't ready for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like people are doing cool stuff with it.
Yeah.
It does increase productivity. It should be used as a tool to elevate humanity and not replace it. But I think the biggest thing of all is that the legal system, when something happens, and it will, who's responsible for the car hitting the person, metaphorically speaking. And I don't know that there are any laws that are ready for that. And that's bad.
If I were a lawyer, and I'm not, haven't even taken the LSAT, my argument would be that it is still vehicular manslaughter because the car is still in your name.
True. You should you should always be paying attention. You should always be able to swerve.
If you kill someone with your car, but your car was in neutral, it rolls down a hill and kills someone.
Yeah.
Vehicular manslaughter.
But back in, what was it, like 2013, they came out with the cars that could parallel park themselves?
Yeah.
If they screwed up and tapped someone else's car, right?
It's just like you did it,
Exactly. We've been in this world for a while now. It's just the generative stuff is new. We've been in this world for a while.
Yes.
Right? Autocorrect has been trained with machine learning. Has been for years, right?
Yeah. A lot of the editing work I do, I rely on very sophisticated, or maybe not very sophisticated, but very nice software that does a lot of the manual work for me. It scans a document way faster than I ever could.
Yeah, even the grammar checking in Word is really good.
Yeah.
It has been for years.
Very nice. You'd be surprised the number of authors that don't use it.
I would be surprised.
the amount of books I've read that are just like author's word to my inbox is frightening, and they don't want to look at it again.
They just like, this is the best thing. Send.
Yeah, they're like, publish it now. And I'm like, well, I have some questions. Do you want to review it? They're like, no.
Publish it.
You make the call. I'm like, what? How?
Zoinks. That's bad.
It's real bad.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Is it going to end the world? No. Is it going to prove to be very interesting legally? Yeah.
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 It's I would love to just for a little bit be like a fly on the wall for lawyers discussing that kind of thing. I'm glad I'm not in that field and I don't have to deal with it. Mm-hmm. But I am curious like what they are starting to write like internally in their journals on like what is going to be the prevailing philosophy on how we handle these cases.
Yeah. Yeah, I for one am very excited to see that.
Yeah. And if they're just like, it will handle it on a, case by case basis because we're lawyers.
Well, the nice thing about lawyering is that, I mean, except for the very first time, you always reference case law. Always.
Yes.
That's just, that's what paralegals are for. So, yeah, no, it's, that'll be interesting to see. Who owns it? Who was it trained from? Who is responsible for its output if it's bad?
I don't know. Not me. I won't be responsible for it when it goes bad.
Oh, no. Because we're smart. Human in the loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Human fallibility, I think, is the only... Well, no, I won't say the only thing that, like, it can't reproduce. But there's something goofy about humans that robots are too cool to handle. Because when they mess up, it's like, it's adorable.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at a robot messing up and saying, that's stupid. That's their own fault. I've never done that. But humans, every time they mess up and they do something just so brain dead, it's a miracle.
Yes. The miracle of human stupidity.
Every time I watch just like a TikTok where someone's trying to do a two-handed task with one hand, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because the burst of flame takes up the entire camera lens.
Nice.
Oh my gosh. But beautiful disasters like that are only possible because of people like our sponsor tonight.
Right. Well, unfortunately, we don't have a sponsor tonight. You might remember Blue Rectangle and how it was jumping around last time. Well, it's been almost a month since we've seen Blue Rectangle, and it's hatched into this beautiful little chameleon here. So thanks again to Blue Rectangle. You've given me this sweet little friend. He hasn't bit me yet. But yes, thank you to Blue Rectangle for blessing me with this adorable little critter. So if you find a blue rectangle outside, and it's jumping around a little bit, just know it's getting ready to hatch. I don't know where the 50s came from. There were 50s taped to it every time. I don't know where those came from. But this is definitely a real chameleon, and definitely not some kind of I don't know, spy thing. Definitely not. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? You're not going to spy on me. No, you're not. No, you're not. So, yeah. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, to whoever owns the Blue Rectangle, thanks for sponsoring us in the past. Thanks for lizards. And slide another 50 our way sometime.
That's how we keep it rolling.
Rolling all the way down the pile.
Indeed.
This has been another episode of Steaming Pile with Lauren and Tucker. I have been Lauren.
And I've been Tucker.
We will see you all next time.